My life began at sea then, beneath the sun, rocking back and forth day and night. The nausea that the waves would evoke became my first trial by fire, a motion I would eventually become resilient to. One day I spotted a lone stone rising out of the water, and perched on top was a single frigate bird. I sailed closer to the rock, and the bird didn't seem to be perturbed, and closer I got. I got so close that I could touch the bird, and it remained still, not asleep, aware of me, but unshaken all the same. I asked the bird, "Why are you so still?" Unmoved to fly away at my presence. "Do you not suppose I might make you into a meal?" The bird remained focused, still unwavering, and responded, "Where do you suggest I might go? Even if it becomes the end of me, I haven't a place to roost besides this rock. And so it's the only place I'll ever need." The words of the frigate bird vexed me. I wasn't in need of food anyway, so I sailed away and left the bird alone. A creature of the ocean has no need for stillness. An anchor must not be left down lest it wear. I sailed on, drifting in the morning upon a city named Manus. My hands grew beaten and rough from the rigging, so I ventured into the city, for a spell of rest and relaxation at the bottom of a bottle. I stumbled into the bar, and as I went for my first sip, I was greeted with a rather vulgar joke from a local. I couldn't help but laugh, setting down the handle and neglecting the drink for now, instead chatting with this person. We spoke for hours, it felt, and we left the bar together for merriment throughout the city. They treated me to a variety of local attractions, impressing on me the diverse skills and capabilities of the people in Manus, far greater than many I had seen, and exposing me to their raucous, although occasionally distasteful, sense of humor. I felt rather blessed to have such a great day on a land of all places, learning of the great joy and excitement that the place could evoke. The city wasn't too big, but bustling nonetheless. Plenty doing something any hour, it seemed, like a simple beehive. I enjoyed the time I spent with the friends I made here. They were some of the most pleasant people I'd ever met, but I knew that my boat was where I belonged. So when the day grew old and I was alone, I went back to my boat without any farewells. I felt a bit guilty in the act, as if I was wronging the new friends I had made by not giving them a proper send-off, but these thoughts were quickly cast aside. The city didn't need me, and I certainly didn't need it. I was better off without it. My life went on at sea then, beneath the moon, rocking back and forth day and night. I thought of the frigate bird again, continuing to question its words, its smug insistence. A bird was born for flight, unmoored, and I was no different. To defy as much would be to defy nature itself. I wouldn't find a roost on land because I wasn't built for it, end of story. I went back to the handle from the bar and I emptied it in solitude, sleeping through the night. When I awoke at midday, I had washed up on another island, and as I gazed around, I was quickly greeted by locals with another handle. Apparently a traditional gift for newcomers. I gladly accepted it to drink later. The locals insisted that I stay, and I reluctantly accepted. I became immersed in their culture quickly. I learned that the small town I found was named Cruz, and that the residents would sail around the world at their leisure, always returning back to Cruz but never staying for long. Just like me, it seemed like the sea was their true home. I was elated, and I was happy to stay a while to become one with these like-minded people. I celebrated and shared stories with the people for days, learning all their names and qualities, but eventually the time came when they all left, venturing back out to sea. I would miss the friends I had made, but they would come to return after not too long. I found, after staying in Cruz for a while, that the people seemed to become overly emotional when out at sea for too long, returning practically humorless and sensitive, as if a single simple joke would push them over the edge, and they would leave again. I wondered why they became so changed by the sea. These people who were like me seemed to be extremely attached to the island they returned to every now and then. And then I realized, these people aren't like me. Not really. I'm on a different frequency. I had made friends, very close ones, but it dawned on me, clearly, that I must leave again, back to the sea, the only home I knew. My life returned to the sea then, beneath the stars, rocking back and forth day and night. Upon returning to the sea, I felt nauseous once again for the first time in years, the waves punishing me for my brief respite in the cruise. Once the waves calmed down, I remembered the frigate bird again. How could it never leave the rock? Surely it needed to find food somewhere else, clean water somewhere else. It couldn't sustain its whole life in one spot. Nothing can. I pushed the thoughts of the frigate bird away, remembering the gift of the people from Cruz, draining this bottle just like the one from the bar in Manus. I was never going to stay in Cruz anyway. The sea would have called me back eventually. I drifted away again, in the world and in my thoughts. I awoke once more in the night, When I stumbled to the bow of the ship, I witnessed the largest city I had ever seen in my life. A glowing spectacle of light and music, one that clearly housed a vast number of people. I couldn't resist the allure. Going once again on land and learning the city's name, Kor. I became acquainted with a few people, all friends among themselves and glad to take me into the fold. They brought me out for drinks and kindly gifted me yet another handle once. The people in Kor were by far the funniest and most lively I had ever met. And before I knew it, I had stayed for quite a long time. I quickly grew closer to all these different people I had met, many who you could do anything with at any time. They would make even something as simple as a visit to the grocery store more pleasant than one could ever figure. I stayed in Kor longer than I had ever been on land, but slowly I began to feel like the friends I had made didn't think of me the way I did them. Just a part of the group, replaceable, emotionally negligible. I drifted away, stopped going out with them, and I soon started seeing them hanging out together without me. The same as always, laughing and having fun as if I had never even been there. My greatest fear had come true. I became emotional and confused, and in a fit, I confronted one of my closer friends. They wondered why I was doing this to myself, why I couldn't just blend in as everyone else could, forgive and forget. I was scared. I felt like I was losing everything I had found, and I didn't know what to do. So, I ran away. I ran until I returned to my ship with tears in my eyes and knowing that my life here was over, leaving before I could properly say goodbye. Did I do this to myself? Was I in the wrong? My life was warped at sea then, beneath the clouds, rocking back and forth day and night. The nausea of the waves came on more intensely than ever, and I thought back to the words from the frigate bird once again. I thought I finally understood what the bird meant, why it stayed in the one spot, why it wouldn't falter or flee despite the hardships. But I did flee. I ran away from Kor despite now having some of my best memories there, believing I had found a place to call home, maybe, to lay down my anchor and be still. No more rocking, no more nausea. And yet here I am, leaning over the taffrails of my ship as the rain pours, mixing with the liquid death in the bottle I was gifted by the ones I knew in Kor as I empty it anyway. As the sky cleared, I saw a ship peek over the horizon whose livery filled me with dread and brought my heart into my throat. A common design on ships from Cruz. I was motionless, unable to gain speed fast enough, and was ultimately spotted by the one captaining it, an old close friend of mine from Cruz, someone who left to sea before me. It had been a long while since they had seen me, much longer than the locals would often stay at sea, and she yelled out across the gap, asking why I had left and where I had been. I bluntly admitted that I didn't feel like I belonged in Cruz, like I didn't fit in with the ones I had become close to anymore. She seemed bewildered, unresponsive, staring blankly. I wasn't myself. I was lost and hurt still for my confrontation in Kor, and as my ears ached from the silence, I began to scream at her, yelling that she didn't even know what to say, that she was only proving my point, and every other disgusting strike I could possibly make at this person I once held so close. I realized my mistake, and I apologized, but all too late. The damage was done. We exchanged pleasantries despite my outburst and went our separate ways, not saying much else. One at a time, I began to miss my first ever friends in Manus, and then I yearned to be forgiven by those of Cruz. And finally, I wished to act as seamlessly as the many of Kor. My life halted at sea then, immersed in fog, the waters calm and the ship still. As the sun came over the horizon, I felt my ship wash up on land again, and I sluggishly made my way to see one more town. But when I got to the edge of the ship, all I saw was a barren island, devoid of human life. I left my ship again, taking in the place, and I found that it was nothing more than meets the eye. It was truly empty. As I walked from one end of the island to the other, I thought back one more time to the frigate bird, and I thought of everyone else I had met, in Manus, Cruz, and Kor. I looked at this island and I knew I was alone, nobody around me, serenity. But I was alone. Nobody was there to share this moment with. I thought finally maybe the frigate bird had a point, And maybe a steady home is the most important thing, but I figure that if you can't find a way to belong, if you're unlike everyone around you and ultimately face solitude, what kind of home is that? The frigate bird lived on its rock, and that was its home, but it was alone. It lacked companionship, a friend to call its own, or a community to be a part of. As I came to this realization, I turned back around and walked, then jogged, then sprinted back to my ship. And when I felt the wood below me again, I reached for the 3 bottles, knowing the places I was found, not on an island or surrounded by water, but amid friends, with eyes upon me. I wrote lengthy and emotional messages on sheets of paper, and I jammed them into the bottles. These bottles contained the last words for the ones who I once cared for more than anything, the back of my mind a place where they will live eternally, even if they forget me tomorrow. The words were for nobody, but they were the most important things I ever said, the consolidated feelings for everyone I've ever known, everyone who I may never see again. My life reinvigorated then. Beneath the sun, my ship anchored and the waves crashing around me. The ocean may have once been the place for me, but it is no longer. I will return to the sea, but briefly, and I will search and search until I find my home, a place where I belong, where I can learn from my mistakes and be found again as I have found myself. The bottles, now sealed, were cast into the ocean, maybe one day to be read by human eyes again. Like them, I will let myself adrift. I refer, as it were, to the ocean, and I hope it will bring me where I belong. I only hope that I truly deserve it when I get there.